Hi, I'm really looking forward to this podcast today, where we're going to introduce Marie-Louise Breindahl from Recreate You and Louise Thornhøi from Lulaland Media. Together, they've created a podcast called Kærlighedens Labyrinth, Love Drags Burnt. And actually, it's incredibly rare that I talk about love, so just welcome to both of you. Thank you. Normally, I usually talk about health, physical well-being.
Yeah, well, I'd like to start and then you can add on. We've actually had this podcast, Kærlighedens Labyrinth, the Labyrinth of Love, for 5 years now. And it really started with Louise and me just having a lot of interesting conversations about love ourselves. And then one day we were sitting at a cafe and thought, why don't we try recording this? Maybe there are others who would find it interesting to listen to us. And I have a background as a love coach, pattern expert, and I work with this professionally. So that's kind of my role. And Louise, you're a journalist and communications advisor, but in this context, I'm the journalist who asks the questions and gets some things clarified that might be hard to understand. At the same time, I also share from my own life regarding where I am in my love life. I do that too. We're in two different situations. You're single, I'm married, so we have two different perspectives. And the reason we also wanted to put this on air was because we thought, okay, if we find this a bit exciting, if there are things we think, are a bit taboo to talk about, things that can be hard to understand, hard to talk about, then it would be really great if we could pass something on to others. So that's actually where we started 5 years ago.
Well, I actually haven't listened to any of your broadcasts. I just think it sounds incredibly exciting. I'm personally very interested in psychology, and love is central to everything we do. And if it doesn't work out, if we have problems with it, then it's just insanely important to get to the things that need to be resolved around it. So what kind of topics do you talk about?
Yes, it's actually all the way around. And it's not even just about romantic love, but also a great deal about one's self-esteem and personal self-image, and also about underlying fear. And that, of course, can quite easily be found in various situations other than just within one's romantic love life. But fundamentally, we are attempting to find the common underlying denominator, which is, in essence, love itself. And very often, it's also about finding love, but also about maintaining love in a long-term relationship. We cover a wide range, and we've made over 160 episodes, so of course there are a lot of different topics we've touched on. But I think that one of the things we actively return to, for example, is also a trend in society right now regarding love and dating. And what are we talking about? Which shows are getting a lot of views? Reality TV, dating shows. What are the latest studies about dating on dating apps and things like that? So there are also those compelling segments where Marie-Louise generously shares her profound knowledge as a highly experienced love expert, and indeed a true specialist in understanding intricate love patterns. So you might learn to understand a bit more about yourself, but also gain a broader perspective on society and how to develop towards that. Yeah, I mean, I have to say it's pretty funny because sometimes I hear from some of our listeners who write to us. First of all, new listeners write to you and say, oh my God, I've just binged all the episodes because you guys are so good. So you can see they're just polishing their own halo there. And then there are actually some who have written to say, I've taken notes because they think it's so. We really try to give something of value, something you can use in real life situations instead of just talking about things. So we really try to provide value as well. And now you mentioned, Britt, that mental health and well-being are really closely connected too. Because that's how it is. If you're depressed or feel uncomfortable in your own body, it can be incredibly difficult to have the energy to even work on your love life or even go on a date if you're single. So there's a huge overlap between health, we think, and love, because you simply can't have the energy for a great love life if you're not feeling well.
If you're feeling bad, no, it's just really interesting. Right now, actually, I'm sitting here, I did some exercises, and now I've actually got a bit of a back strain, and it's funny, it really affects everything. If you can't sit properly, if I can't relax, it's very interesting because normally I'm actually pretty healthy, so suddenly I'm experiencing how, it affects so many different things, including mood and so on. That's also very interesting. I'm very interested in hearing about your own health journeys. Marie-Louise, maybe you could start and tell us a bit about yours. It could be interesting to
hear about both of your health journeys. Yes, we can definitely do that. I'd be very happy to share something My personal health journey is perhaps a bit more unusual and certainly more unexpected than most people's experiences, primarily because I actually had a very significant slipped disc when I was just 21 years old. That unfortunate incident truly forced me to seriously and deeply reconsider my overall state of health and well-being. I am now 46 years of age, so that's quite a few years ago. But at that time, I was actually in the process of training to become a nutrition therapist as well. So I knew a lot of things, you could say. But that's when I really went all in on looking at my health, what I needed and what I didn't need. A whole lot, actually, like cutting things out, sugar, for example, and wheat flour and some other things, and then what nutrients should I add instead? And among other things, there was beetroot, which I really focused on a lot back then, and still do, actually, because of those wonderful juices. I think beetroot is fantastic, but it's actually pretty hard to find a really good nutrient-rich beetroot, which, at least in my impression, though I should be careful what I say here, can also be used in our energy cells. So that's one of the things I used back then. However, I dedicated a significant amount of time and effort to meticulously figuring out precisely what my body truly needed to effectively optimize my overall health and well-being. And remarkably, I actually managed to get completely well again, achieving a state of improved health without the necessity of any medical intervention whatsoever. But it was hardcore, so that's really where my health journey began. And from there, it just continued to the point where I've always been super interested in supplements and in every possible way how I can optimize my health. That's the
very short
version
of it. Of course, it's undoubtedly been a huge journey, and it's wonderful to hear that you're on the other side and the importance of nutrients in that
journey.
So Louise, tell me, if you would, what about
you? Well, I have a completely different story to tell. I come from my teenage years and in my early 20s, where I had a really strong and quite intense relationship with food, and I had spent a good 10 years before I truly started to explore or found it very interesting how different foods can significantly affect your mood and overall well-being. And today, as a busy adult, I'm self-employed. I have a wonderful son on my own. I'm a solo mom. And for me, it's just so incredibly important that I have ample energy to spare for everything. I've also always been the type of person to enthusiastically start new projects, and I don't easily let go until something truly significant and impactful actually happens, either for better or worse, something that puts a brake on things or makes them unfold. And that just truly means that I really need to have a profound sense of peace of mind. But I learned when I started to gradually come out of my eating disorder, which was about 15 long years ago, I learned to effectively use food for something more significant, not merely as medicine, but I could feel how important it was for me to avoid eating unhealthily. It's very difficult when you have an eating disorder to go from that to living healthily, but it's also a journey that took a really long time. But nevertheless, it's something I focus a lot on in my adult life. That one, not to be too restrictive because that can send me back. And then two, and to be very mindful that I get the vegetables and fruits and the vitamins I need every day. And for many years, I've taken supplements, but honestly, I actually prefer to juice or make smoothies. And then we tried this product that you have, Britt, with these super juices. And it really makes me feel a really huge and noticeable difference in my overall energy level, but also in my sense of calm. I actually feel I'm doing well. And it's just because of these shots that I drink in the morning, or sometimes I also make a little bit of these things. So this thing, which people talk a lot about these days, it's not just that muscles need nutrition, it's actually also about your mood. And I can really feel that to put it simply.
That's wonderful to hear. I mean, the importance of nutrients, our body is kind of like a house, right? And a house is only as strong as the individual bricks in the walls, right? And if they start to crack, then the house just starts to fall apart. It's the same with nutrients in our bodies. They are the building blocks. And if we're lacking B vitamins, of which there are 8, we'll really feel it in our energy. If we don't have iron, we start to feel tired because then our blood isn't as it should be. And then it just keeps going like that. And enzymes, which not many people think about, are like the light switch on the wall when you walk into a dark room. When you flip the switch, you get light. That's how it is with enzymes. They initiate all the reactions in every part of our body. Whether we're talking about the brain, kidneys, liver, blood, uterus, or muscles, enzymes are among those that help us break down fat. Lipase breaks down the lipids, the fats in the body. We have protease, which helps break down protein and so on. So it's incredibly important. And the problem with some of these nutrients is precisely that when we boil or fry our food, for example, with enzymes, they are lost. Enzymes are very delicate, and when we boil or fry our food, we destroy the enzymes. So we do produce enzymes in the body, but we also need to get them through our food. And that means through raw foods, through uncooked things. That's also why we freeze them instead of just sending them out pulverized, etc. By freezing them, they remain intact and retain all their nutrients. But I'm also really interested to hear what you have to say, how you feel in your own experience, especially now with your podcast and the connection to all the people who listen to your podcast. How do you feel about the connection between love and health? I mean, physical health?
Well, for me, it's truly about having more than enough sustained energy to effectively manage both my demanding business life and my equally important private life, maintaining a healthy balance. A life with my son, whom I raise alone, and then I also have to date. I don't have to, but I want to. And that just requires that I have some energy to spare. And the best way I can give myself that energy, besides sleep, is by eating properly, eating proper food. And that also makes me happy. I would also say that for the last 15 years of my working life, I have worked a lot with food, chefs, restaurants, kitchen appliances. I know that entire world. It's a professional world I've actively moved within, and it has consistently been a very healthy and beneficial thing for me to be a part of, because I've met so many people who are truly passionate about this and who care about ingredients and about being present and about being able to feel what good food and healthy food do for us. So it definitely means something. When I go out on a date, I also drink wine on my date. That's another thing. But anyway, and the day after, I eat lots of good and healthy food. And that's important to me. Yes. Actually, I can give a really good example. Because right now, as we're sitting here talking, it's just been summer vacation. And I spent 14 days in a camper van with my husband and my preteen kids. And I couldn't get your juices with me because there was no freezer. So I had to go without it for 14 days. And I could really feel during those 14 days that my energy was actually lower. I actually take it as a shot in the morning too. I don't use it that much for smoothies, even though I know you can. I actually really like drinking it because I think it tastes really damn good. I could really feel that my energy was slowly but surely dropping over those 14 days there. So my love life is also very much centered around my family because I have both a husband and some kids, right? I didn't have much energy left for my husband either. I did spend a lot of time with him. So those 14 days in that camper van, they were fun and cozy and everything. But I can definitely feel that I actually missed it. I actually thought that was quite interesting. I hadn't tried having that kind of break before. I had just sort of taken them. So I also thought it'll be exciting to see what happens now. Can I feel it? I really could. It's very much about the body. It's very much about the body. When you've given it for a while and then you take it away again, it's as if it just craves it. It's actually pretty good to become addicted to health. You can feel it in your body and your mood. Yeah, I guess I'm a kind of a wheatgrass family member. That
also has something to do with the fact that there was a study where people in northern Jutland, that is Denmark and Germany, were asked, where do you think you get all the nutrients you need to function and feel optimally healthy? And about 70% of us said, yes, I do, because I eat good food, I'm always full, and I also get good salads and so on. But it turns out that when you actually measure how many nutrients we really have, only between 5 and 10% of us actually have optimal nutrient levels in our bodies. So that means we are living suboptimally. We get tired more than we should. We're not as energetic as we ought to be. We don't have the capacity for productivity or the mood that we could have. So we simply cannot overstate the importance of getting enough nutrients. And the problem is often that the nutrients we have, and you could say when you're on vacation and so on, you often end up compromising a bit. That usually means you end up having too much ice cream, I know I do, and a lot of desserts, and maybe not quite as many salads as you normally would. It's just a different way of living. And at the same time, the quality of our vegetables isn't what it was back in the 1950s either, because with all this intensive mixed farming, with lots of pesticides and so on, we don't quite reach the level where we actually feel completely energized as we should and as we all
deserve to feel. Yes, exactly. I mean, I'm one of those people who would say that I live healthily. I actually eat organic vegetables as a rule and things like that, but still, I could really feel a difference. So that not particularly large juice as it is, I mean, you might think, can such a small pack of juice really do that much? But I could really feel that it can. I mean, no offense intended, but it really doesn't look like very much at all. I mean, it truly is what it is, but it's actually quite hard to genuinely imagine that that simple pack of juice could really be so incredibly life-changing. You can hardly even begin to imagine it when you first see it, I feel like saying, honestly.
Just saying.
Yes, and that's where it really comes down to what nutrients do things actually contain. So what level are we talking about here? And there are a lot of people who supplement, who take vitamin pills and so on, but those aren't living foods. That's not food, it's a supplement. And we also need to remember, how old is our body really? How old are you? And it actually turns out that no, we are not our physical age. In fact, we have 3 ages. We have our physical age, and we also have our metabolic age. That's the age we feel ourselves to be. That's the age that comes from our lifestyle, meaning what we eat, what we drink, and what we think. But we also have a 3rd age, and that's the age of evolution. And in that sense, each of us is tens of thousands of years old. Because we come through evolution, we are the result of evolution. And when you think about it that way, you can actually understand that a small supplement, a little vitamin pill is okay, but it was created in a laboratory, and we haven't had vitamin pills for more than 50 to 60 years. Whereas natural, wholesome foods and the essential vitamins, vital minerals, crucial amino acids, and beneficial enzymes found inherently in natural food, we've consistently had throughout all those countless years as we've progressively become an integral part of nature. And
Taking
folates from beets, that's completely different from taking a vitamin pill
with folic acid.
Yes, absolutely.
And I almost feel like I can sense it. I think you've said this at some point to Louise, that I can almost feel how my cells, it's like a sponge soaking it up when I get that. And I can't feel that. And I take quite a lot of vitamins. I've done that for many years, ever since I was ill. But I don't get that same sponge feeling, or whatever you want to call it. It's like a feeling that my body is just soaking it up. Yeah. I think you've said that at some point too. You almost feel like you're absorbing it. Yeah, well, it's hard to say what's actually happening because we're not trained in this. Well, actually, you haven't. And we're not in the same way as Britt. No, but it's hard to say. For me, it's hard to say what's actually happening. But I could definitely feel that it does me good. I mean, when I do this for myself, it's both the taste, it's both the morning ritual and starting the day this way. That kind of gets things going for me. Like, yes, it's worth it for me to have this because it's really delicious and it's really good for me. And then there's everything that the research says, which you can go in and read about. So there are many things that make it really feel like a luxury to start the day like this. I mean, this is what I deserve. This is what I should have. I just have to say that to you because it's actually important for love. Yes, it's that feeling of I deserve this. I'm doing something good for myself. It gives a huge sense of, I don't know, at least it would for me, right? I mean, I'm not going out dating, but it can still make a difference in my relationship. That feeling of like, I'm attractive today. I mean, I can definitely feel that too. That feeling that I'm doing this for myself, not for others. Maybe others can see it too, but I'm doing it for me. And it's also a self-esteem thing. And I also think that as a mother of a 4-year-old boy, I'm very aware that I need to keep myself fresh. I had him late in life. So if I had had him at 25, I would have had a different energy. One would probably think so compared to what I have today. So that's why it really means a lot to me to take care of myself too. And I've become fit and I've become healthy.
That's exactly it again. Energy is interesting. It all comes down to the cell membrane all the way into the mitochondria where ATP and energy are produced, right? And that depends on what nutrients are present. And again, it all just connects. And also the inflammation in the cells is important to consider. I mean, whether the cells are really healthy. And again, it's the nutrients that come in because it's the nutrients that form the immune system. So for example, vitamin A. Vitamin A is a precursor or an early stage of killer cells, which are also called T cells. And killer cells are a major part of the immune system. They go in and find the cells in the body that are not healthy, and then they destroy them. That's why they're called killer cells. That's what the immune system does. But the question is, do you have enough vitamin A in your body for that to happen? So everything is connected. So when people talk about energy and feeling alert, Those are just words we use, but it all relates to the nutrients we have in our bodies. As we talked about before, we have 3 ages. You have a physical age, which is the one you just mentioned, but you also have a metabolic age. And yet you can be 10 to 15 years younger than your physical age. And that depends on what you eat, what you drink, and what you think. So the power of thought is incredibly important. And we also know this when it comes to love, that the power of thought, what we think about ourselves, what we think about others, becomes part of our sense of reality, right? And we know that what we eat and drink can make our metabolic age much younger than our physical age because we feel energetic. And that means how we think affects how we look. Our skin, our muscles, our internal organs. So that's where we bring in juices, those superfruit juices. It's about changing our metabolic age, that we actually become younger than our physical age. I actually have
just recently had my metabolic age tested. Have you done that too? Let's hear it. 35, and I'm actually 46. Oh, yeah, dumb. You shouldn't joke about that. I need to get that tested. Now, I've also been drinking your juices for over 30 days, Britt, so you probably are
down to approximately 22 or something like that. But we just really need to, get this done.
Remember
that it's not a miracle cure. No, it's gradual and long term. Then it just suddenly starts happening. Then we can just feel that when you get more energy, you also want to exercise a bit more. When we've exercised a bit more, we also get better muscles in our bodies. That means we maintain our bodies better, and then it just creates a positive feedback loop. Then we feel sexier. All those things, they're all connected. Everything is
wonderful. Can I just add something that isn't exactly about love, but could very well be related? Because I'm also in the situation where I'm going through menopause, sort of premenopausal. And I have to say, I actually think they've had a big, effect on many things like my sleep, for example, these juices. So I just wanted to mention that. And that really does have a lot to do with one's love life, whether you feel comfortable in that age group, you could say. I know there are a lot of women who find it a bit difficult. I personally haven't been hit that hard, but I do think it's made a difference there as well. Just thought you might want to consider that, actually. And I also think when you mention feeling empowered, that really does matter in love. To feel that I have a say myself. I'm not a victim of circumstances. I can absolutely take complete control of my very own personal love life. And that truly means
a lot. With empowerment also comes freedom. Freedom to be yourself. Freedom in knowing that we have many choices. We can live in different ways. We can do different things. We can take that walk. We can go for that run. We can be that extra something for our partner or for our woman, our partner, right? That you have that's part of it, isn't it? Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you as well. And Louisa, it's just so wonderful to have you. And I mean, Kærlighedens Labyrinth is just an incredibly exciting podcast. And of course, we'll include a link at the bottom. And I also know that for those who listen to it, if people want to try the juices, I know you have a special code that gives extra juices. And we also have a little something for them so they can just check the bottom for more info. So lovely. And I'm looking forward to being on your podcast again. Yes.
It's just so nice. And the code is Labyrinth, if I may just add that. That's the one listeners of Kærlighedens Labyrinth can use, and then they can just go for it. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much. And wonderful to be here as well. Bye-bye.